such disharmony. So I say, let's finish it fair and square, and then embrace President Trump or embrace President Clinton and move forward in the name of national unity. I've said before that for far too long, the largest number of us have allowed our views to be muted by the loudest voices. It's important we not let them take us down this road for another 4 years, and hopefully the candidates will provide leadership that heals, regardless of which is the victor. Joining me now is the RNC's Chief Strategist and Communications Director, Sean Spicer. Before we talk about early voting, do you buy into what I just had to say? Do you agree with me that come Wednesday, we need to unite, recognize the victor, and move forward as one?
Assuming that there's a clear and decisive victory, sure. I think what makes this country beautiful is the democracy that allows people to vote and to choose up and down the ballot who we want our elected leaders to lead. And then if you don't like what that decision was, you work hard to put up another candidate the next time and fight it out, voter by voter, idea by idea. But sure, I think that's what makes our country better than every other country on the face of this earth.
Good. We agree on that, and I'm sure David will agree as well. The consensus seems to be that while the polls have tightened, your candidate, Donald Trump, still has a very narrow path to win the building behind me. What do you say?
Well, I think we start every election the last several cycles behind in the electoral map. That's just a fact. I mean, Democrats do very well in big states like New York and California. So we've known this for a long time. Chairman Reince Priebus has said this 4 years ago that we've got to be near perfect to win it back. We win at every other level of government. We have more Republicans elected than any time in history. Democrats have lost 900 seats since Obama became president. We control the House, the Senate, majority of governors, 66 and 99 legislatures. As a party, we do very well, but we have lost the big prize a few times, which is why I think we put together the most comprehensive infrastructure to win back the White House. In 2012, Michael, we had 876 staff between us and the Romney campaign. We now have 6,012. That's an exponential amount of people out there. Last cycle, we did 11 million voter contacts. This cycle, we're on pace to do 17 million voter contacts. There's a reason that the absentee ballot and the early vote are up for Republicans in these battleground states and down for the Democrats. Our ground game, our data, our infrastructure are helping up and down the ticket. There's a reason that when all the media said that we were going to lose the Senate and potentially hold the House, now we're talking about strongly maintaining the Senate, keeping the House and winning back the White House. I disagree with the professor that you mentioned earlier. I think he's going to go 49 for 51. You've got every one of these states closing in, and mostly all states that Obama won twice and should be strong blue states: Colorado, Michigan, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Virginia. States that Obama won twice that the Clinton campaign banked on as part of being their coalition are now all of them, every single one of them, trending towards Trump-Pence.
I know that you're looking at that data of early voters, and we can't look inside their envelopes, thank God, but we do know, are they Republicans who have voted early? Are they Democrats who have voted early? We also see polling data, some based in part on those who have already voted, and some just based on the general populace. I would suggest to you, Sean, that to simply look at the turnout among R's versus D's, and I get your point. You're saying, hey, we're outpacing Romney from 4 years ago, and they are not keeping par with Barack Obama. A fair point. But wouldn't it be more important to know gender? Wouldn't it be more important to know ethnicity?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be more important to know level of education? Because within each of those demographics,
Michael,
your candidate is suffering.
No, Michael, I actually agree 100% with you. But that's what we do. We've got a voter score on 197 million voters. Every single registered voter in the United States, the RNC data operation has modeled. We follow them, we track them, we believe we know where every single voter is going to either turn out, not turn out, turn out early, not turn out early, vote with us, vote not with us, vote, split their ticket. We've modeled every single one of them for the last 4 years. We feel we know exactly where this electorate is and where this thing is headed. So I agree with you, full. We don't look at public polling. We look at our data scores. We work with the campaign to make sure that we're modeling every single thing we do, where the candidate goes, what ads we place, what the message it is, whether it's a mail piece or a TV ad, whether they hit a door knock or a phone call. Every single action that we take as a campaign, as a party committee, and this bleeds down to the information that we give every single Senate race, is that we know where our voters are, where we have the potential to grow, where we have the potential to persuade, where we have the potential that we've got to either turn that person out, make them chase and get an absentee ballot back. But I agree with you. That's what we do as a party. We've chased every single voter that we believe we can get, and that's why we feel so good heading into these last 4 days.
Sean, I recognize that you think you're leading at this point. Hypothetically, if you enter Tuesday
that's
tied,
not what I said. Look, just, say that again?
If you enter Tuesday tied, the intelligentsia, the political pundit class, believes that you lose because she's got the better ground game. They've identified exactly where their voters are come from, and that it's only the RNC providing a get-out-the-vote effort for Trump, and that, frankly, his is organic. Now, look, 15,000 people came out in Hershey, Pennsylvania, my neck of the woods last night, but is that a fair statement?
No, it's not, and I just went over it to the beginning. I think the problem is, as you point out, the political intelligentsia, whoever they are, don't take the time to look at the facts. As I mentioned, the combined Romney RNC field operation was 876 people. The combined RNC Trump operation is 6,012. Now, I mean, I went to public school growing up, but that seems like a pretty big growth in the ground game. Voter contacts between RNC Romney in 2012, 11 million. Voter contacts that we'll make with the Trump campaign, 17 million. At the end of the day, the problem is that the political intelligentsia, whomever you're talking to, don't want to look at the facts. We have a much exponentially larger staff on the ground. We've got a much larger voter contact program, and we've got the best data operation of either party. So I think the problem is that people have this view of how things are supposed to work. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who knocks on your door. If they're knocking on your door saying, tell me who you're going to vote for, what are the issues that are important to you? Are you voting for Marco Rubio, Patrick Murphy in Florida? And what are the issues that are important to you? And we're putting that into the app and bringing that back and feeding it back out to every candidate up and down the ballot. That's the best program that can happen to exist. We have a better operation, a better ground game, and a better data operation, because the problem is, in the distinction, Michael, that people don't get, is the Democrats keep building operations for one candidate. We build operations for an entire party so that everybody up and down that ballot, whether you're running for city council
Sean,
or
thank you.
president of the United States, you have the data.
Sean Spicer, thank you. Now for a different perspective. 8 years ago at this time, David Axelrod was the chief strategist for Barack Obama and on the verge of electing him president. Thank you for coming out to play on a Saturday.
Good to be here.
You heard him say, among other things, look, we think we're performing better than Romney was 4 years ago, and the D's are underperforming as compared to Barack Obama. Is it that simple?
Well, no. First of all, let me say I'm here as a senior commentator for CNN and not as a surrogate for the Democratic Party or a campaign. So let me give you an objective view as someone who's been involved in this process. I think what you look at are, you pointed out that there are people who don't have party designation or vote history because they've just registered. For example, in Florida, many of the voters who are newly registered are Hispanic voters, or a disproportionate number. Many of them didn't designate a party designation, and yet the anticipation is they didn't register to vote for Donald Trump. And you look at polling data of some of these newly registered voters from several states, and she has an edge of about 15 points. There are a number of signs in the early vote that suggest to me that she is on course to win. Will she win by exactly the margin Barack Obama did? No. It is true that I anticipate that African-American turnout won't be what it was in the last election, but I think Hispanic turnout is going to be higher. And so in a state like Florida, that's going to pick up the difference. I think she's going to get a higher percentage of college-educated women. That's going to help in the suburbs of Philadelphia, in the suburban areas in North Carolina. Right now, I think she is on track to win this election. I think Spicer's done a great job, but and the RNC in building something that they didn't have before. Is it enough to drag Donald Trump across the line and break the electoral lock? No, I don't think so.
Tuesday night.